Hello, everyone. This is your favorite Adam with Hussein, Steve Hussein, and we are here again to show the different readings of Quran that has been proclaimed by many of the Muslim scholars at the moment now, which actually says that it is not one single Quran. What do you say, Hussein?
This is, you know what? I just did a video yesterday, and you know what? I was a Muslim. I was taught in madrasa, I mean, madrasa just means school, and in the Middle East. And I remember so distinctly, I remember they always said this. The sheikh would come into the class and teach us that there was only one Quran. It was from the preserved tablet, the Lawh al-Mahfud. From chapter 15, verse 9 of the Quran, it says, Allah says, we sent down the reminder and we preserve it. Allah preserves the Quran, keeps it perfect. We were told that the gospel has been changed. We were told the Torah has been changed. But nobody can change the Quran because Allah Himself preserves the Quran. And so it's perfect, it's unchangeable. Every dot, they always said this, every dot, every dash, in the Arabic, we have what's called the Dhamma and the,
Shadda and Dhamma,
yeah,
Kasa.
yeah. And it says every single thing is perfectly preserved, exactly like the preserved tablet. And the God, I mean, the Quran is unchanged. This is what we were taught. And you know what? What I was a Christian for 40 years. I have been saved for 40 years. Before
Praise
I
Lord.
before I even knew before I even knew that there are all these different Qurans. And there's, the two big ones that is the Hafs and the Warsh. And and the Muslims, they're beginning, there's like 37 Qurans that we know of right now that Hatun Tash has revealed on the
Praise Lord for her.
for her program. But you know what? You know, I just go back and I look and I see, dude, what it makes me feel, it makes me angry. You know why? Because it makes me feel like somebody lied to me. They
Yes.
lied to me. They told me there was one Quran, and they knew. They knew. My video yesterday was with Shabir Ali. Shabir Ali is one of the biggest Muslim apologists in America, or in the West, in the English language. And you know what? He said blatantly. He says, "Oh, we got this. There's different versions in Africa, and then the different version." Here." And in the video, in the small video, he said there were at least 17 different Qur'ans. He says that the sheikhs, the imams in their schools, when they go to their schools, they learn 10 different recitations. And you know what he said about them? He didn't say the word different. You know what he said? He says they complement each other. If they complement each other, that means they're different. And that means there's at least 10 different Qur'ans out there. And then he brought in the subject of the Sab'a Ahruf, the 7 modes or Ahruf. And nobody knows what that means. But so there are 17 different Qur'ans. And I'm thinking, dude, they told us one. They told us the reason you can't trust the gospel is because it's been changed and there's so many, and every week they come up with a new one. But the Qur'an's got at least 17 just in Shabir Ali's video. And it's just like and these are from trusted Islamic sources, the 10 recitations, the Ashr Qira'at, and then the Sab'a Ahruf. And then, I started looking at it. I got a Warsh, I don't have them with me right now, but there's the Hafs and the Warsh and the Susi and the Duri and the Kalun. And these are just the 5 biggies. There's so many others. And so it's a huge, huge issue. And I can't wait to see the video by Yasser Qadi, another big Muslim apologist who's finally admitting, Muslims, we lied to you. We lied to you, Muslims. We told you there's only one. We lied to you. It's a lie. There's not just one. Don't go into eternity believing this lie. Get things right with Jesus Christ before it's too late. They lied to you, and now they're beginning to admit that they lied to us. So anyway, yeah.
Thank you, Hussein. Thank you, Steve Hussein. So basically, what happened is that recently, Mimi Hijab was having a debate with the apostate prophet,
He's the gift.
and
He's the gift that keeps on giving, man. It's like,
yes, praise Lord. In his lies and deceit that he does to win the debate, he actually gives so much material to everyone, which actually destroys all and everything. Last time with Yasser Qadi, it happened the same thing. But let's look at the video what he proclaimed, and then we can move forward from there.
okay.
So I'm gonna play the video now for everyone.
And by the way, the Quran says in chapter 25 that there are many sons because it says, تبارك الذي جعل في السماء بروجا.
No, it does not.
Pardon?
What does it say that?
Yeah, it says in chapter 25, تبارك الذي جعل في السماء بروجا وجعل فيها سروجا منيرة. There's two
Okay.
qira'ahs. One qira'ah says sirajan munira and surujan munira. So the sirajan munira means a shining lamp, and surujun munira means many stars. So a shining lamp means a star, and many suns, one sun and many suns. So in other words, the Quran says that there are many suns. The cosmic picture of the Quran, therefore, is that there are many suns, many solar systems, because suns are accompanied with solar systems.
Okay, so what just happened? Let me just put the picture in front of us, what he actually proclaimed. So
Yes.
he proclaimed these two differences. This is actually Quran chapter number 25, verse number 61. And he used Surujan, which is a plural, versus Siraja, which is a singular.
Uh-huh.
And that's what he tried to proclaim. So he actually went into two different Quran version, which is one is the Hafs version and the other one is Khalf version.
Okay.
So there are two different versions. He's not even going to the Versh version, so which is actually most commonly used after her Hafs. He
Yeah.
went into a third version, which is Khalf version, and he said there are multiple suns that the Quran is talking about, and hence what is happening is that he's proclaiming all these stars and all these multiple universes, and everything is because that's a scientific miracle in Quran. So
Yeah.
we'll look at the scientific miracle later, but first, these are two similar words,
Mhm.
similar ahruf. You can see there is not a single difference between the two highlighted words, Surujan and Sirajan. The only difference are the diacritical marking on them.
Yes.
There is yes.
That the whole issue. There's so much. I mean, he really is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Muhammad Hijab. You are such a gift to us. I hope you get more and more famous because just like David Wood always says, he says you want someone like this to get really big and everybody to listen to him because he's so easy to take down. This, if you just look at this, the consonants are the same, Saruj and Saruj, but the thing is that, he even admits that it means lamps. It doesn't mean suns. The word for sun is shems, and so for him to say that this means that there's many suns, and then, but the bigger thing is just the admission. I've never seen this before. I've never seen this
Just the
before.
admission that he is proclaiming two Qurans.
He says this from two qira'at. So that means he goes around and chooses from the different qira'at to see something that fits his thought, or what he's trying to say. And it's like he's coming up with, and I thought, dude, do you know what you're doing? That's a nuclear bomb right there. You're saying there's different, and you know what? He's doing our work for us. He's showing that there's differences in the diacritical marks. He's saying there's differences in the meanings. He's saying that there's differences in the words between one Quran and the next in the same word. He's doing our work for us. And it's just like, dude, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're saying? But thank you. Thank you. You just made our work so much easier, because it's coming from someone that they recognize. And you know, the real Muslim who was taught like we were taught in school, there's only one,
Yes.
not one harf, not one dot, not one jot, tittle, whatever you want to call it, is different between with you know the Lawh al-Mahfud and the one. What happened to chapter 15, verse 9, where Allah says He's going to perfectly preserve the Quran? What happened to that? What happened to chapter 84, where it says Quran mubin min Lawh Mahfud? You know, the Quran is perfectly clear from the preserved tablet. Which one is on the preserved tablet? The Khalaf or the Hafs? Which one is on the preserved tablet? And so, you know.
That's the question for Mimi Hijab now.
Well,
So
you know,
basically, I wanted to go
you know what I'd
further.
like to tell him?
Sorry.
You know what I'd like to
Yes.
tell him? You know what I'd like to do? I would like to give him a piece of paper and say, Muhammad Hijab, I want you to write down for me the Quran. Write down for me what was it came down to Muhammad. You know, just like he did to Yasser Qadi, you know.
That would be 7 different Qurans or 17. I don't know which one. But anyhow, so basically, I first wanted to refute the scientific miracle that he actually claimed that there are multiple suns, and he deliberately did not go to the Qamar, because if you go to the Qamar, the moon, then there are so many universes and only one moon. I wanted to speak on this a lot, but what happened was Jay, another apologetic, already refuted him. So I'm going to play his video over here for the refutation, and then we will go back to our subject of Sabah Haruf. So let me play that so that the miracle of the Quran should be thrown out of the picture, and then we will move back.
Alright,
Here we
so
go.
what Muhammad Hijab is doing here is an attempt to argue that the Quran speaks of multiple solar systems, and the implication is that this is a scientific miracle, because how could the Quran have this information in the 7th century unless God revealed it? And he bases this on chapter 25, verse 61. Now, just to break down what's being said here, as Muhammad Hijab helped popularize with Yasser Qadi that there are multiple readings or qira'at of the Quran. That means that there are different versions of the Arabic Quran, which, as Muhammad Hijab is pointing out here, result in very different meanings. In one reading of the verse, it uses the word sirajan, which means lamp, in the singular. And then in another version, it uses the plural, surajan. So to be clear, the verse doesn't actually use the word sun. It uses the word lamp and lamps. But Muhammad Hijab is saying that when it's in the singular, it refers to sun, singular, and when it's in the plural, it refers to suns, plural. And he's using this to substantiate his argument that the Quran speaks of multiple suns and therefore multiple solar systems, supposedly a scientific miracle of the Quran. Now, he entirely missed or skipped or omitted the word qamaran, which means moon. And I'm going to ask you, why do you think he did that? He cites it twice in Arabic, and in Arabic he skips it as well, but he translates it in English, skips it, completely omits the word moon, and he even looks it up on his phone later, and he never corrects himself. My question is, why do you think he skipped over the word qamar or qamaran, the word moon? The verse is saying that God made a lamp and shining moon. Again, Muhammad Hijab cut out the word moon entirely, but the variant says lamps and a shining moon. Muhammad is arguing that lamps here refers to suns, which we'll grant for the sake of argument, and therefore there are multiple solar systems, many suns, many solar systems. However, there's a huge problem with that. The reason why he skipped over the word moon is because if you take this argument seriously, then there's only one moon for all of the solar systems in existence. Do you see how dishonest he is and why he left out the word moon now? He purposely read the verse in a way that is grammatically odd and incorrect and left it out just to make his argument work. How dishonest is that? But again, if what he's saying is true, and that the Quran here, in the variant reading where it says surajan, lamps, plural, refers to suns, many solar systems, then he's stuck. How are you going to explain now that there's only one singular moon for all of the solar systems? We know that in our solar system alone, there are 200 moons.
So,
Wow.
so basically, that point has been refuted fully. That there is a scientific miracle, and we go back to our Siraj
You
and
know,
Suruj.
yeah. you know what? I just wanted to just say that just listening to that again, you know, like I said, I listened to this last night. So it was so strange that you were going to bring up this subject, because just last night I was listening to this to Brother Abdullah Samir. And, you know, the thing that, you know, that it's like Muhammad Hijab, thank you so much again. I just got to say thank you, Muhammad Hijab. Thank you, because you hit so many nails on the head. Because what you do, first of all, you show us that there's more than one Quran, but then you go and show us how the difference is. It's not just the diacritical marks that are different here. The meaning is different. One is plural, one is singular. You've changed the meaning, because that's what the Muslims always say. They say, oh yeah, maybe there's a little thing or a little thought, but it doesn't change the meaning. No, it changes the meaning. The meaning is
completely
different. One is singular, one is plural. And it's like, thank you, Muhammad Hijab. You know, thank you so much.
So let me move to this one, which you have shown in the past as well. How about you put some light on this one, because this is critical.
Okay, this is one of the things that I use with the what I use this when I show the difference between the Hafs and the Warsh. You know, because, you know, we have 37 Qur'ans, but I tell you, the Quran puts such a heavy burden on itself. The Quran puts such a heavy burden on itself by saying that it is perfectly preserved, letter for letter, dot for dot, like it came down. Yeah, this is the verse right here this is where they put the burden on themselves. Inna nahnu nazalna ad-dhikr wa inna lahu
لِحَافِظُونَ.
Yeah, because Allah himself is preserving the Quran. And so when you put that huge burden, any deviation from the text in the text is a proof that he's not the Hafidun. He's not keeping it. He's not preserving it. And this verse is a lie. This verse is a lie. And so if you go back to that other one that you just had with the Ind and Abd, the thing about it, you know, and this really, you know, thank you, Muhammad Hijab, because, you know, he kind of stole my thunder on this, because because he already brought it up. And you see the difference here, and there's more than one difference, but if you go to the middle word, you know, the middle word is Abd in the Hafs version, and then Ind in the Warsh version. And Humma Abd Rahman, you know, they are the slaves of the most gracious. But the one underneath is Humma Ind Rahman. They are with the most gracious. And you know what the huge difference is here? It's the diacritical mark. The diacritical mark, if you put it on top, which is what is on the bottom one, if you put it on top, it becomes Ind, which means with. But if you put it on the bottom, which is what the top one or the Hafs version is, it becomes Abd, which means slave. And so this was, you see, because after Uthman, and I know you're going to show some of the ancient manuscripts, that the ancient manuscripts didn't have diacritical marks. And they say, oh, that's not a big deal. Everybody had memorized it, and it was preserved by the memorization. Well, that it wasn't good enough, because here you've got completely different meanings. One of them means they are the slaves of the most gracious. One is they are with the most gracious, because of one tiny little dot. One tiny little dot changes the meaning completely. They are the slaves of the most gracious. They are with the most gracious. And that's just because they move the dot from the top of the word to the bottom of the word, of the letter. And so this is a huge problem, which, you know, like I said, if you look at what Muhammad Hijab showed, he already showed us this. But, you know, the thing I like about this verse is that it shows exactly. It shows you exactly one tiny little dot changes the meaning completely. And which one? This is my question. Because chapter 84 of the Quran, Surah 84, where it says, Al-Quran mubin min al-lawh al-mahfud. You know, the Quran from the preserved tablet. This is what I was taught in school, is that there's this perfect tablet up in your Jannah, where Jibril or used to go and read it and then come bring tell Muhammad to recite, to ikra. And which one of these is it, the top one or the bottom one that is on the Luh al-Mahfuz? Which one is on the Luh al-Mahfuz? Which one is on the preserved tablet? Because these are not the same. The meaning is different. And it's just that dot. And so, anyway, but
Yeah, let me add to this now. So we can see that the difference is the dot, but why the difference is, that is very important to know. If you look at any of the earlier Quranic manuscripts, let me just put one. This is
yeah,
called a blue Quran. So if you look at this blue Quran version, you will realize that there are no diacritical markings in it at all. You cannot see any dot or gamma, shadda, matta, peish. You cannot see any of it. Why? Because up till 800 AD, there were no diacritical marking whatsoever. And this Quran is called to be a late 9th century Quran. So if we are calling it to be late 9th to early 10th century, imagine till that particular time. I have actually taken this to the very late Quran, so that you would not say, hey, something had it. So if you look at it, Samarkand manuscripts, you won't see any of the diacritical marking over there as well, right? This is the Samarkand manuscripts. And if you look at Samarkand manuscript, they were proclaimed to be written between 765 to 855 AD. So basically what happens is, when you do the carbon dating, it gives you almost 70 to 80 years of a range of the paper, that when this paper was created. It can never tell you a exact pinpoint location of that paper, and because those paper were taken from the animal skin. So 765 to 85 AD, 855 AD, you had no diacritical marking. If you go from 855 onward, which is the blue Quran that I showed you already, there are no diacritical marking. If you look at Sana manuscript, which are proclaimed to be the earliest Quran,
yeah.
obviously there are no diacritical markings. So now when the Muslims actually take these and they put the dots and shadda, gamma, khata, wherever they put them, the difference
You end up
changes
with this.
dramatically.
Yes. You end up with this. You end up with this issue, which is, oh, let's just put a dot over, or let's just put the dot under, and you completely change the meaning of the verse. And you know,
Hussein, before we go forward, you guys have to understand the dot changes the meaning in such a way that the first one, the top one, says they are slave of the most gracious. Most Ar-Rahman, the most gracious. Abdu, slaves of, or, and the lower one, which is Inda, is they are with the most gracious. So Inda is with or in. So basically Inda is with the most gracious. So are they with the most gracious, or are they the slave of most gracious? This is a dramatic difference. This is a dramatic difference. It's not a small
and
difference
it's
at all.
just one little dot. And so when they come and tell you this is perfectly preserved and this is from the preserved tablet, okay, then how come we got two different meanings here? You know,
And sorry.
go, because what there quite often Muslims used to say about the Bible. They'd say, "Oh, look, there's this, variation in Mark chapter 16 and First John chapter 5 and all this, and the the defense that Christians gave is that none of the variations, textual variances, affect the meaning. This is what Christians say. None of them affect the central doctrines or the meanings. And the Muslims used to laugh, but now they're using the exact same thing to say
Because
about the Quran. Is that it doesn't affect the meaning? But you know what? It does affect the meaning.
so
Their variances do affect the meaning.
so basically their differences is like this. So basically when we have a ba, so that's a ba.
Yeah,
So,
that's the problem right there.
and
That's
then
the biggest problem right there is that smiley face thing. Because,
yes, that's a ba. And
yeah,
basically the other one is noon.
yes,
So either you can say abd with ba dot down there, or you can say
and
end with the dot. So so when we are joining the letters, so you need to know the basic Arabic. When you're joining the letters, the ba will become just this, the middle part, and
yes,
the noon also becomes just the middle part. So this, the first letter is ain, so this letter is ain
yes,
for the same, and the last letter is da for the same. The middle letter is either ba, which is the second letter of the alphabets of Arabic, alif, ba, ta, sa, jim, ha, ha, dal, and so on. And I don't know, noon is whatever the letter, maybe like 20th, I don't know. I can't even pronounce that. But anyhow, so noon is the letter way far down in
yes,
the picture. So what is the difference? What happens is you can either say the middle letter is ba or the middle letter is noon, and
yes.
that creates a huge issue
And then
right over here.
and then Adam, if you just decide to put another dot right next to abd, on abid, on the top one,
Yes,
you put another dot, it turns into Eid, which means a holiday. So then you got a whole, you know,
there you go. Because then it will become a ya.
a holiday.
So that is a ya.
Yeah,
So what is a ya? Ya is the second last letter of Arabic alphabets. So
yeah,
if you put two dots, then it will become a ya.
yeah,
So ya, or you can write it as this. So basically there are multiple way of writing ya. The whole difference is, like, if we look at it now, now it is more perceivable. uh, what is happening? The
yes,
ba and the noon,
yes,
the ba and the noon, and that's where the problem is. This is what you cannot get through.
yeah.
You cannot get through, and this is not the only difference. That's what we need to realize as well. This is not the only difference. Let me
I
show
heard
you.
between the Hubs and the Welsh, just two of them. Okay, we got over 37. There's just two, the two biggies, Hubs and Welsh. There's like 1,300 differences.
So if we look at my page right now, uh, I think, let me just make it small so that it will be a little more visible.
This is humongous difference here. I mean,
Now
here we're
check this
getting
out.
consonantal differences, not just. I mean, the consonants are different, not just the vowels and the diacritical marks here.
Exactly, because this is ahruf. So the major problem was they say ahruf and kiras. Ahruf actually means word. So here, if you see, there is a whole new word in the middle. So let me show you what word we are talking about. So in over here you can see who, hua, ha, and wow, hua. Here the hua is not there at all.
It's not there at
So
all. Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. This is just between the Hubs and the Welsh.
yes sir, yes
And
sir,
you're talking about an entire word, not just the little
difference.
mark or dot. This is an entire word is missing.
And that's where the ahruf and kira comes into being. So if we look at this particular hadith over here, the prophet was presented at the pool of something something. Gabriel came to him and something, Allah had commanded you to make your community read Quran in one harf. The prophet said, I beg Allah his pardon and his forgiveness. My community has no strength to do so. He then came for the second time and he told him the same thing till he reached to the seven harfs. So seven harfs is harf. What is one harf? You need to realize this fact. Aleph could be taken as one harf, ba could be taken as one harf, ta could be taken as one harf, or if you say, if you go down, then read your community in seven harfs. In which mode they read, they will be correct. So so harf can be a couple of haruf. Haruf is the plural of harf.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Excuse me. So kiraz, when you talk about kiraz, that is the difference which was shown by Mr. Mimi Hijab,
Yes.
and he shows the difference between kiraz, where the diacritical markings, the seen push and seen zir, the dash, are different on the right and on the left.
You
But
know, if we could just, I just want to say this one time, and just because they've compartmentalized these differences with different words to kind of give it a little bit less explosive impact. But you got to come down to the very foundational issue that we're dealing with here. And the foundational issue, it doesn't matter if it's kira'at or if it's ahruf or batikh, whatever it is. What you have is a bunch of different Qur'ans. That's the bottom line. These Qur'ans are all different. And that goes against what we were taught. And so, that they'll say, oh, but this, no, this is a kira'ah. I said, kira'ah or ahruf or whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is you got different Quran. They are different from each other. The meanings are different. The dashes are different. The dots are different. And which one of these is on the
are
look?
in the perfect tablet.
Yeah.
Yes. Which verse is this? Let me put that verse as well for the people, for our audience. The Lohe Mahfuz verse. I
Oh,
think it is in.
84. It's 84, Surah 84. Let me see if I can get it for you here.
Okay, you can get that in the meantime. Uh, so this, Allah proclaimed it to be perfectly preserved. Which one? The right side one is in the perfect tablet of Allah, or the left side one is in the perfect tablet of Allah? That's my question. We are just talking about Hafs and Warsh. According to Mimi Hijab, that the video I just played previously, Sirajan or Surujan, which one is in the perfect tablet? Noghfir or Yoghfir, which one is in the perfect tablet? Abdul Rahman or Indur Rahman, which one is in the perfect tablet? Kul or Call, which one is in the perfect tablet? You tell us, Maliki Yomidin or Malakal Yomidin, which one is in the perfect tablet? This is what we are asking. And we see over here, the second major difference is Sari'u Wasari'u. So here you have Va. So Va is a perfect word in itself. It's used to add the consonant to the previous word or as to add an it. So and to hasten or hasten. So that's like Va is basically using as an and over here. Graphical differences. Then there are uh, like it's amazing how many differences you can find in just two Qurans. And we were always talking about Hafs and Warsh, whereas this Mimi Hijab, our favorite guy, brought up another Quran, which
He's
is
the gift that keeps on giving, man. He really is, man. And so
praise
he.
Lord. And he brought up a third version of Quran, which is Khalf from Hamza and Hafs from Asim. So he's making a difference, and he proclaimed these two, just trying to win a debate with an atheist. Imagine that. This is how bad it is that during to win a debate, he destroyed the perfect preservation phenomena. And this is what he did with Yasser Qadhi as well. When Yasser Qadhi actually started saying, uh, there are what there are holes in the narrative.
The narrative. There's holes in the narrative.
Let me play that video if you don't mind.
Okay.
How he is trying to save the shubhas that he is having, and how he is not trying to proclaim these in front of the people. Let's play that part first before we go to the holes.
Every single student of knowledge knows, who studies Ulum al-Quran, that the most difficult topics are Ahruf and Qira'at. and the concept of ahruf and the reality of ahruf and the relationship of the Uthmanic Mus'haf with the ahruf and the preservation of the ahruf. Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it 7? And the relationship of the qira'at to the ahruf. This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out. And you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward and difficult. And this isn't new. This is from the time of the Sahaba. This is not a joke, brothers and sisters. The issue of ahruf and qira'at caused confusion to somebody whom the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want to listen to the Quran directly, listen to Ubay. Ubay is not some even average Sahabi. He is the Qari of the Quran. He is the master. He is who he is. And he goes, فَدَخَلْ فِي نَفْسِي شَكْ. What is all of this stuff? Again, this is you're asking some very honest question. This is the first time I'm saying these things. Many people are aware who listen to my lectures that I've mentioned the crises that happened to me at Yale. This was the issue. That the issue of ahruf and preservation and qira'at and relationships between them, these are very, very difficult issues. And the most advanced of our scholars, they're not quite fully certain how to solve all of the unanswered questions in there. Here's the point. These issues should only be discussed amongst people who know what the qira'at are and who understand some of these questions that are being made.
You know, can I just make a couple comments about that
Yes,
video?
please. Yes, please.
That video drives me crazy. It drives me crazy because you know what he says? First of all, he says that when you're shallow in your knowledge, you just look at this situation, you say, oh, you know, there's an issue here. I thought there was 1 or there's 7 or there's 10, and just like, whatever. But then he says something else, which I think is such an insult. I think it's such an insult to every student of Quran. I can't believe he would say, it's so arrogant that what he says. He says, and then when you learn more, he says, you just regurgitate whatever your teachers tell you. He says, it's like you don't even have a brain. You just say whatever your teachers tell you. I'm thinking, dude, what an insult to all the students of Quran. He's saying that you just regurgitate. You know, regurgitate's almost like vomit. You vomit out whatever your teacher tells you. And then he says something even more devastating. He says, but when you really go deep, that's when the problem, it means the more you know, the bigger a problem this is. It doesn't get easier. And he even dared to say this. I couldn't believe he said this. He says that for 1,400 years, we've been trying to explain this thing, and we can't. And it's just like for 1,400 years, they haven't been able to explain this thing. And just unbelievable.
How could they? How could they? Because all of the earlier Qurans and the people at the time of Muhammad did not had ahruf and they didn't had qira'as, full stop. Ahruf and the differentiation of ahruf when it is written, they did not have that differentiation. Like I showed you already, they did not had those, they had nothing to make that differentiation in the written words. And we can see that for all the earlier smaller scripts that we get. I'm showing them again. You cannot see that. And that is why he said there are holes in the narratives. Let's put it that one as well.
It's just that thing is like, you know what? I think, you know, on the one hand, I want to just say that I kind of appreciate how he's trying to be honest. He's trying to be honest with people. He's not trying to lie. But, you know, he says another thing. He says another thing in that video that reminded me actually of something in the Bible. You know, there was one time where the priests and everything were talking about Jesus. And then one of the priests says something to the effect of, you know, a lot of the people have come to believe in Jesus. And you know what one of the priests says? He says, those are the ignorant masses who don't know nothing about the law.
Yes, sir.
When Yasser Qadhi says, this is not a subject you can talk about in front of everybody. This is only us secretive people who know that there's a whole bunch of holes in the narrative already can talk about, but you don't talk about it in front of the people because you don't want the people to know about it. Only us people who are being paid, whose livelihood depends on perpetuating this lie, only we can talk about it. And for him to say that is so arrogant, you know. And
Let me
but
let me play that. Let me play that. Hold on. Just let me
Is
play.
what you're saying the shak that came, or not the shak, but the crisis that you had was in relation to this question of the relationship between the ahruf and the qira'at, basically?
No. The crisis I had wasn't that. The crisis I had was, well, yeah, wait, that was what generated. But what was the crisis? The crisis was very simple. Traditional understandings of ahruf and qira'at cannot answer some of these pressing questions that are now being poked by our people outside of, by our academics, by their academics outside of the faith tradition. You see, in a Muslim environment, there's always some respect that we have for the Quran. We should. In a Muslim environment, we'll press a little bit and then we'll say, okay, khalas, sami'na wa ata'na. And that's great, alhamdulillah. When you go to academia, they don't have that red line. And they're going to just, you know, the famous story of the emperor with no clothes. They're going to just point out, no, that doesn't make any sense. Well, that's not true, and this and that. And they'll bring issues, which I'm not going to mention explicitly, that you know are true because they're in your own books. They're not inventing anything new. They'll bring you riwayat, and they'll bring you athar, and then you add to that very well-known issues of, I don't even want to be explicit. And then you bring on top of that makhtutat, and then. And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say. The standard narrative does not answer some very pressing questions. These are now well known within the Western Academy, that they're bringing forth issues. Their level of now knowledge is leaps and bounds above what it used to be, 100 years ago. What is happening in the last few years is not me anymore. It's the Western academics. These problems are now becoming mainstream. And by and large, our ulama in the Eastern world are not aware, by and large, of what's going on in the Western side of things. And they're not answering those questions in a manner that it needs to be answered.
Now, there are multiple issues in this 40-second clip. Multiple issues.
It breaks my heart. I'll be honest, it breaks my heart. Because what he's saying here, and I want every serious Muslim to go and watch this again and again and again and again. Because what he's essentially saying is, dear beloved Muslims, you were willing to believe us, but we
were lying.
We
Yes.
lied to you. We lied to you. And you are trusting your eternal soul on the words that we gave you. Because I was a Muslim, you were a Muslim. We believe this. We believe this narrative. We believe the narrative. I used to believe the narrative. And now he's telling us there's holes in this narrative that I entrusted my eternal soul to. 1.9 billion or 1.6 billion or 1.3 billion people believe this narrative. And he's now saying, hey, you know what, you guys? We lied to you. And it makes me angry and it makes me sad. And
this is the verse of Quran that
This-
was proclaimed by Steve Al-Radi Hussein. But this is an honored Quran in a preserved slate or tablet. Fil Lawhil Mahfuz.
yeah. فهو قرآن مجيد في اللوح المحفوظ.
Now,
this is the
Lawhil Mahfuz, the Quran is supposedly preserved in what language? Arabic, because Quran also claimed that this is an Arabic Quran that was given in Arabic, in your language, so that you could warn the mother of the cities, the Makkah. So that's also a Quran verse. Now, this Arabic Quran is preserved in the eternal tablets of Allah, which has so many differences that we can see right now, and yet these scholars of Islam are not able to proclaim that upfront, that yes, we lied with you guys, we deceived you guys, and whatever we said is wrong. They are saying there are holes in the narrative. Okay, what about this hole? Like slave or with? Is that a hole? What about this hadith? This is a Sahih hadith. What about this hadith? This is again a Sahih hadith, which says that the people, seven dialects. Read the second last line. Seven dialects. If you look at the last line of the Arabic, it says Quran ala sab'atal aharuf. So it comes in seven aharuf. Why did it come in seven aharuf? I already showed it in the previous hadith that Muhammad said people will not be able to understand that. Now, the problem with all this phenomena is that once you have Sabah Aruf, then you are claiming that you have one Quran. Then people are claiming that Muhammad, yesterday you said something else, today you said something else, and then Quran saying, oh, we abrogate the verse and provide you with a similar or a better verse.
Yeah.
Like, what is the purpose of providing a similar verse? So this whole narrative of Quranic abrogation and providing similar verses, the seven ahruf, the 17 Quran which are already proclaimed by Shabir Ali, the 37 Qurans which Hatun Tash has already shown. There's so many mistakes due to diacritical marking that we have shown you already. And plus, you can actually go to any website. And plus, Mimi Hijab finally to win a debate showing a third type of Quran which is very less rotated in this world at this moment, which is Khalif Quran versus Hafs Quran, Surajan versus Sirajan, and that is actually more dramatic because now you're talking about multiple suns in the galaxy, but only one moon. So that actually destroys the whole scientific miracle of the Qurans, anyways.
And it
Which Quran?
doesn't say sons, by the way. It says lamps.
Lamb. Yes.
And so he says sons. The word for son is Shems. You know,
Shams.
this is
Washamsi wal Kamaru was
Yeah.
Sujaha. Yeah, I remember those verses as well.
Yeah.
So, but basically, I'm just going with these people, even though that they are claiming something, but at least claim it right and proclaim it to all the people.
You know what? What kind of amazes me a little bit is that about, if we get back to Muhammad Hijab, you know, and I pray for him. I pray the Lord's going to open his. I think he's going to, when he comes to the Lord, when he comes to Jesus, Lord help us, he's going to be Apostle Paul. But you know what? You know, if you look at his, because he had a real struggle. He had a real struggle with the subject of these different qira'at and different, when Jay Smith was going to Speaker's Corner and taking all these different Qur'ans, you know, Muhammad Hijab was one of the ones who had a huge problem with it. You know, it was,
And yes, in the beginning, he was actually making fun of Jay Smith, and I have seen the original, the older videos of Jay Smith and Mimi Hijab on the Speaker Corner, where Hijab is repeating the hand gestures of what Jay Smith is doing while he's speaking.
Yeah.
And then somebody said to Jay, and he said, okay, it doesn't matter, he's just a kid. And that's what he was at that particular time. He was a kid. He's yet a kid as compared to Jay Smith.
But you know what he's done now? You know what he's done now? He's assimilated. He's assimilated. He couldn't deny it. He couldn't deny that this thing exists. He couldn't deny that there were all these different Qur'ans. And so he's just now assimilated all of that information and into his, you know, his information that he uses to promote his arguments. You know, he said, you know what? Because it seems like when he was talking to Yasser Qadi, he was trying to fight this. He's trying to fight the fact that there's all these different Qur'ans. But now it's like he just embraced it and said, okay, we have all these different Qur'ans. It was a lie. There isn't one Qur'an. There's all these different Qur'an that I could use from to promote these myths that I want to promote about Islam and the miraculous Qur'an. So just, you know what?
But the deception is still there, as you see that he did not use The deception is still there that he did not use even the full verse while proclaiming it, and he stayed at Siraja. Now, and that's the deception. No matter where you go, how you go, you have issues, and the issues are due to the fact that the earlier Qurans could never tell you the differences of diacritical marking because there were none. Because there were none. Please understand that. There were none. Not a single one. In any of the earlier Quranic manuscripts, there were no diacritical marking. When Bukhari is writing those hadiths that I have shown you, Bukhari had the access to multiple different Qurans. And Bukhari was told by the people these stories from Muhammad about 7 aharuf or Saba aharuf, and that's what he wrote in there. He had no idea that in the earlier Quran writings, because there was no internet, because there was the information was not flowing just like it flows right now. He had no idea about it. He looked at the person, he looked at how good that person is, and he's not lying, and he proclaimed those hadiths sahih. He proclaimed them sahih. The problem with sahih hadiths of Bukhari and so many people is that none of them actually saw that Muhammad saying those things with their own eyes, because they are writing 250 to 300 years after the death of Muhammad, which means at least 4 to 5 generations after. We are talking about 4 to 5 generations after. And all the people who wrote after Bukhari wrote even later than that. Bukhari is the earliest one. And that is why there's a sheikh called Sheikh Mizu. He actually said Bukhari is maskhara. Do you know that Sheikh Mizu of Al Azhar University actually proclaimed that Bukhari is maskhara, and that is why there is a lot of fight on that. And he was, I think, he was actually thrown out of Al Azhar. I think. Hold on, let me look at where it is.
I just want to say one thing, Adam, about uh, you know, just because you know what, if you listen to what Yasser Qadhi said, if you listen to what he says there's layers, there's more layers, and you know what he's saying when he's saying there's more layers? He's saying this thing gets worse and worse the deeper you get into it. And there's just one thing I want to say before we even, I mean, I want, you know, that at the time that Uthman, you know, they had their different Qur'ans at that time. There's 7 Qur'ans, you know, and there was going to be a civil war between the Muslims because this one says go this way, and Iraq says this way, and Syria says this way, and, you know, all these different Qur'ans out there. And then Uthman says, let's bring all of these texts together and let's burn them and come up with a new one and get Zayd ibn Thabit to go get Hafsa's Quran and do whatever he did. And he didn't just use Hafsa's Quran. He went to people and asked them, did you see this verse? Did you get this verse? What did you hear? And so the way Zayd Thabit, you know, Zayd, twice he compiled Qur'ans. This was his second compilation because he did it for Abu Bakr first, and then he did it for Uthman. But you know what? The most respected Hafiz, a person who memorized the Quran, according to Muhammad, was Ibn Mas'ud. Ibn Mas'ud was Muhammad's big, most important memorizer of Quran. And Ibn Mas'ud did not give Uthman his Quran. And he rejected Zayd ibn Thabit's Quran. And so, you know, I work with Father Zechariah Butros, and you know what? There were 31 different Qur'ans in the time of Uthman. 31 different Qur'ans, if you look in the Hadith. This is before, this is not even dealing, you know, with the Sab'a Ahruf. This was Ibn Mas'ud because he memorized his Qur'an. And then you had, you know, Qais, what was the name? I forgot. I forgot the guy's name. But there were like 31 different Qurans. This is in the time of Uthman there was. And so when Uthman said, everybody turn in your Qurans, a lot of them did not do that. A lot of them kept their Qurans, including Ibn Mas'ud. And so that, it's just what Yasser Qadhi says. He says there's layers and layers and layers to where Yasser Qadhi said, it's like the naked emperor, the emperor with no clothes. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to say that. Okay.
No, that's perfectly fine, and that is on the spot. Thank you so much for proclaiming that.
Yeah.
But like I was saying about these hadith narratives of Sabah Ahruf were written when all of these Qurans that I'm showing pretty fast right now on screen had no diacritical marking. And when Bukhari is writing those things about Sabah Ahruf, that is the time when he had diacritical marking. And when a Muslim scholar actually reads those things, he actually has to say Sheikh Mizu is a sheikh of Al-Azhar University. He said Sahih al-Bukhari is maskhara. You know what maskhara is? It means a joke.
It's a joke.
It's a mockery. It's a joke. And he is a Muslim scholar. And what is he saying?
Sheikh Mizu, Sahih al-Bukhari. Wow. And this is the highest level of, this is the number, in Sunni Islam, Sahih al-Bukhari is the number 2 book after the Quran.
Exactly.
And he's calling it a mockery. Yeah.
Because you cannot make sense of those ahadith whatsoever, full stop. You cannot make sense of it. So you have Quran, which does not tells you anything whatsoever of how to live your life, basically.
How to be Muslim, how to do wudu, how to do your prayer, how to do the Hajj, how to do the zakat, how to do the all of the things that you're supposed to do as a Muslim. You can't learn it from the Quran. You have to learn it from the Hadith. And they said, I heard a guy talking about this. He said the other day, he says there's only one of the 5 pillars of Islam that you can get from the Quran, which is the Shahadat, the Shahadatain. But you know what? The Shahadatain are not mentioned together in the Quran.
Exactly. They are in 2 different verses, which are chapters apart.
Muslim, the number 3 book. So.
Excuse me. Yes, like even Shahada is not even mentioned in one single verse. It is in multiple verses.
Yeah. So you have to in Muslim when Muhammad says, "Umirt in qatil al-nas hatta yashhadun." He says, "I was commanded to fight the people until they say there's no God but Allah," and the whole shahada. So that wasn't even in the Quran. It wasn't even in Sahih al-Bukhari. It was in Sahih Muslim. So
which is Sahih Muslim. Ibn Muslim was actually a student of Bukhari, basically. So most of the hadiths in Muslim, you will actually find them in Bukhari. There will be certain additional hadiths that he collected based on his expeditions to collect the hadiths, because he was the student of Bukhari. But once again, that's where the problem lies, that Muslims have nothing. And Quran actually says, whosoever obeys Muhammad obeys Allah. Right? That is a verse of Quran. I'll put it on that as well. So how will you going to obey Muhammad when you do not have his teachings preserved? And Muslim says it is preserved, it is the chain of narrators and all. And when we show you what the chain of narrators are saying about Muhammad in my previous live discussions with you, where one of them was the Muhammad the prophet, where I showed what Muhammad has been doing in his life, most of the people came up and they started shouting and cursing me and all. But like, are they cursing at me or they are cursing at the writer?
Adam, I gotta get going because I was going to do my own live stream today, and I've gotta prepare because I gotta go to work too. But
no, you excused us in a very right time. I think it's almost an hour. I think we should close in prayer. We have said enough.
I'd like to say one thing, if I could, about.
Please.
I had kind of a painful message today from one of my uncles. A lot of my live streams are focused on my relatives. I want my relatives to hear the gospel, and and I had one of my uncles write today, and he was writing about me, and he said he used to know my dad when my dad was young, when he went to Brazil and everything, and he talks about how he loves my dad so much, and that how his son, me, I'm hurting them so much. I'm hurting the Muslims so much. And and I just wrote to him and I said, listen, I love you so much. I don't want to hurt you, but I want you to have salvation before you die. And I just want to say to every Muslim who watches this, you guys, you have your Muslim scholars telling you we lied to you. If they were wrong about this, if they were wrong about this number one thing that was so important to us, that there's one Quran. This is what they told us, there's one Quran. If they lied about that, what else did they lie to us about? I'll tell you what else they lied to us about. They lied to us about chapter 4, verse 157. They did not kill him. They did not crucify him. It was made to appear so to them. They lied to us about that too, because they did kill him. They did crucify him. Jesus was killed. He was crucified to save you from going to hell. Come to Jesus. Just say these three things. Say, Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Just do that.
Amen.
Let him answer you. Don't look to people. Don't look to these imaginary scholars out there who's going to answer everything for you. They're admitting now that they lied to you. Jesus is the truth. He'll never lie to you. Thank you so much.
Amen. Praise Lord.
Maybe
Amen.
Today it was you took us all over the planet, man.
I just wanted to concise each and everything in one hour, because we had multiple discussions on this point, and the Lord Jesus has allowed us to speak today through the Holy Spirit that he has given us. Lord, thank you so much for this blessed time that you have given. Lord, allow this word to go to the world, so that your word will go out and they would see the darkness and the deception, and they will come to the truth, who is in you and who are you. And your light will shine upon each and every person, so that they could be saved and have eternal life, Lord. Lord, thank you and bless your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
you.
Steve. Take care. Have a
Thank
blessed evening.
God bless you, brother. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Bye bye.